we're going to go into the midbrain. So the midbrain is part of the basal ganglia, which we mentioned a little earlier. They were the parts that were debatable as to whether they were part of the limbic system or not. But within, so the midbrain has part of the basal ganglia in it, and then within that part is the substantia nigra, which is where dopaminergic neurons lie. And another part of the midbrain is the colliculi, which is responsible for visual and auditory processing. I guess a good way to visualize it is it's kind of near, like that midbrain portion is kind of closer to the ear area. And then the tegmentum, this part of the midbrain is responsible for like reflexive movement. When you're doing like those reflex tests by the doctors when they, I guess, use a hammer towards your knee, it's just a reflex. That's kind of what the tegmentum is responsible for. And then finally is the cerebral peduncles, which is the nerve tract that permits communication between the cerebellum and the central nervous system. And so, yes, that is it for the midbrain. And then we are going into the hindbrain. And so this is where I'm going to talk about pons and the cerebellum, which we had earlier in that question. So the hindbrain, also known as the brainstem, it is composed of the medulla, which is involved in breathing, heart rate and rhythms, blood pressure, digestion, swallowing, and sneezing. And then the pons here, it's responsible for arousal, sleep, motor control, and muscle tone. And then finally, the cerebellum is responsible for balance, coordination, movement, and facilitating motor learning. So usually new skills like kind of dribbling a basketball, kind of motor learning. Okay. And then we also wanted to connect mental disorders with the midbrain and hindbrain. So Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological disorder involving motor abnormalities and mental dysfunction. Symptoms of Parkinson's disease are slowed movements, a type of tremor, increased muscle tone, abnormal walking, and poor balance. So you can kind of see in this image, it's trying to kind of imitate some of those symptoms. And when these motor abnormalities are severe, patients may not be able to take care for themselves and have abnormalities of cognitive, emotional, and autonomic functions. And, like we just mentioned earlier, within the midbrain is that part of the basal ganglia, which is where the substantia nigra is. And usually it's actually dark colored, but in Parkinson's disease patients, it's actually not dark at all because these dopaminergic neurons are completely lost. So it's not allowing the effects of dopamine to occur anymore here. And then the other disorder associated with the midbrain and hindbrain is schizophrenia, in which the mesocortical limbic pathway is affected. It's that middle area, but also with the limbic and cortical area.